Hey everybody, welcome back to another reasonable price prediction, the series where we try to figure out where your favorite altcoins could be headed. Today we're back with a favorite, and that's Avalanche. And full disclaimers, I own Avalanche, so I will naturally have some sort of a bias. I own it. I hope and want it will go up, so keep that in mind. I do, however, not know what will happen in the future, so there's no way that anything I say is certain, except of course when we talk about what's happened in the past, because that's happened. Now, I like Avalanche because it sort of messes with all my ideas and expectations of the crypto space. And the main one that I would put a lot of faith into is the 4-year cycle. And that's that every 4 years, Bitcoin has a halving. And depending on the period of time after that halving, the crypto space will go through somewhat uniform rises and falls. A seasonality, if you will. The 4 seasons of crypto could be considered a year each, give or take. And that has seemed to play out for sort of since the inception of crypto and ever since it gained an audience bigger than a couple hundred people. Avalanche throws a bit of a spanner in the works because with the chart that we're looking at, if you want to assume that these timeframes where I've drawn the white and the orange and the purple to be the same as this time frame here where I've drawn the same, we have to assume that the 4-year cycle is not working for Avalanche, really. Because if these are to be equal, we see that this is basically the bull run for Avalanche. And the first half of the year, Avalanche takes off, has a pullback, and then swiftly goes back to putting in new all-time highs. Now, if we are to assume these are the same, we have to assume that this was the first leg of the bull run for Avalanche, which for me, I do not believe at all. I do not believe that we are in a bull run. I believe that we've had great price action from Avalanche. I do not believe we're in a bull run. But if these line up and they are the same moves, then this has to be the first leg because it would be followed by an even stronger move after having a retracement if it plays out a similar way. And also the time doesn't add up again from 2021, basically bang on beginning of 2021. This one started end of 2023, so just under 3 years of a gap, again, does not equal 4 years. So there's 2 ways that like this can play out. Either these are not equal, they are not the same movements because they're not at the same part of the cycle, or they are the same part of the cycle and we're halfway through our bull run. Now again, like I said earlier, I don't think we're in a bull run. So I do not think that these movements are equal in terms of the time frame when they've taken place. However, looking at them, they are obviously very similar to each other. Like we've had this strong move up, we've put in a low, we've hit a top, we've had a small pullback down, and then potentially it looks like we could make a move to the upside. And even certain similarities of touching the bull market support band, and spending 1 or 2 weeks below. Like we've seen with a lot of altcoins, to be fair, a lot of them do seem to make this move, but interestingly enough, they make this move not in 2021, they make it before, like in 2020, making it a nice 4 years. Avalanche seem to play out, or have this play out later. And we see a similar thing has happened where so far we've wicked down to the bull market support band, but nothing major has happened yet. And we've also seen with a lot of cryptocurrencies that if we take historical reference and use that to formulate an educated guess on what could happen, we've seen that a lot of other cryptocurrencies during 2020 made a bowl, sort of a U, if you will, and then had a pull down with the 2020 COVID scare. And this caused a double top, basically. Again, I will remind you that this looks like the COVID crash, but it's not. It's 2021. And I had to take a minute there before because I just assumed it was the COVID crash. This is not the COVID crash. This isn't even the COVID crash. Avalanche doesn't have price action from COVID. Again, the COVID crash was before the last halving. It led up into the last halving and we crashed into it. So this double top here was not, you can't blame it like on other altcoins where the COVID crash caused a big sell-off and we had to pull back down. This one literally just played out because of X, Y reasons. It wasn't a black swan, it wasn't a COVID world scare, it just had a strong pull down. And a lot of altcoins did this during the bull run. So again, considering we only have this move to kind of base anything off, because we haven't seen really anything like this during Avalanche's life, especially with how similarly things have played out, where we have our initial leg up, a small consolidation, leg up, consolidation, second leg up that's smaller, followed by a bit of a U, or it seems to be playing out that way so far, very similar. We kind of have to base our opinions off what happened last time. And what did we see last time? We touched the bull market support band initially with a wick down, and then we had a week that closed in the bull market support band. We haven't had that yet. We've just gone straight back up. Again, these things don't have to play out exactly the same. They can be different. And again, you can go back and argue that they are not the same thing at all, which is completely valid. What happened last time though is we went back up and a strong pullback down below this previous resistance that became support. So we can see that if Avalanche is to follow in the same way, you can expect it to go below $23, which doesn't seem unreasonable. Again, that's where we were at end of November. Beginning of December, we were at, $22. So literally 2 months ago, Avalanche has doubled in price. That's great. And it's currently trading at $40. It could easily come back down. A 50% drop is not off the cards. And again, we've seen it before. And this broke us below the bull market support band. Now, one thing to note is that we did not come back to this white line level. So if Avalanche is continuing on the same trend, we can expect it not to come close to $12. If we see from its low how close Avalanche got to the low, it was a 180% of a move up or a 65% move down. So if we go 100% of a move up from, say, here, we could argue that maybe sometime after the halving, we should be holding above $32 somewhat. And again, these change, so as volatility decreases, this will probably shrink and everything will sort of merge together. Again, as volatility decreases, things move closer. That means things don't move as crazily. And this happens because market caps grow and you need more money to influence the price on a wide scale or a lasting scale. So perhaps this will reduce. You might expect something like 100% of a move. Maybe that's more reasonable. And that's $25. I would assume that. And that does actually quite nicely put us in line with our $25 support line. So maybe we'll come back to it now. Maybe we'll come back to this $25 support line. But after the halving, we wouldn't come near it. But again, that is speculation. Where I think Avalanche could go, again, it's looking very bullish. The current price of $40 is about 25% away from its all-time high being $150. So even if you're buying now, you are looking at a potential, taking a bet of hoping for a 3x would not be unreasonable, in my opinion. However, I do think, of course, that Avalanche is a strong coin, and it's proven itself these last few months by having this really strong rally during basically not a bull run. Again, I'm going back to this 4-year cycle. I don't think it's a bull run, but I think Avalanche has performed extremely well during non-bull run conditions in tight monetary policy. And this is a very good sign because it shows that there's still life on the Avalanche chain. There's still people using it. There's still people thinking it can do really well. And this is after seeing a devastating crash of something like 95% from all-time high, 94% exactly. So that's always a strong sign. And I mean, if Avalanche is going to go to a new all-time high, which is on the table, you can't assume that that isn't a possibility. And a lot of people would almost hope and guarantee it is. What you could expect kind of depends on where we are. Again, if you want to assume these are the same moves, you're looking at, from this low, a 10x. So again, as volatility goes on from this low, you might hope for a 7x or an 8x. And that will bring Avalanche below $200, which again, I think is quite reasonable. If you are assuming that this is nothing to do with this move, and that after the halving, a few months after the halving, 2021 time, when we enter the bull run, we're going to see this move play out on top of wherever the price is. If we assume that the price stays at a similar level, because I'm sure if Avalanche was around for the COVID crash, it would have sold off, but there's no way of knowing. We can't say that for sure. So I'm going to take it at this level here. If we assume that Avalanche has a move like this from its low to its all-time high, you're hoping on a 50x. And that is from the bull run starting to the peak of the bull run. If we're going to have to zoom out, I'm going to put in a 25x from where we currently are. I'll make this tiny. Okay, if we put in a 25x from this orange line, that would bring Avalanche to a price of $5,000, which I will remind you is not impossible, okay? It's happened before with alts like Ethereum. You know, Ethereum went from $13 to, you know, its current price of above $2,000, coming close to $2,700. Huge moves. Am I saying Avalanche is going to play out that way? No, I'm definitely not saying that. Am I saying it's possible? Anything's possible. Avalanche is a big coin. It's got a lot of adoption. I think it saw the most VC funding for the 2020, 2021 sort of time frame. It was the most coin funded by institutions. And if you want to kind of side with anybody or take anyone's advice or copy someone, if you can't be bothered doing your own research, you'd hope that a VC has. Now, FTX was a prime example of VCs not doing that. But a lot of big names have put a lot of faith in Avalanche. And again, there are quite a few bullish things that indicate that it's not a forgotten about coin. For me, personally, what I think Avalanche will put in a new all-time high. I think it's just on a strong trajectory. And even if this current one doesn't last all too long, and so we get a pullback like this, which I think is probably reasonable, I think we will still make strong moves in the bull run, basically. And a $200 Avalanche doesn't seem unreasonable. If I want to let the side of me that wants to fantasize about all the money I could make, I could definitely, that part of my brain could see Avalanche reaching $500. But realistically, it's very hard to say. Again, it kind of depends on what you think will happen. If this move is yet to play out, you can expect a lot of price movement from Avalanche in the bull run. If you think we're already halfway up this move and this move here is equal to this one, you can expect much more limited, restrained gains of something like a 7x. It all comes down to you. So having said that, moving to the Bitcoin pair, we can see again, these two time frames are not exactly the same. Again, when we were looking at it, it was sort of June of 2021. Here we're comparing a time frame of August 2020 that ranges from April, May of 2021, about 8-9 months, give or take. And we're comparing that to October of 2023. So again, nowhere near 4 years, but it's all the data we have, and these moves so far have played out very similarly. What we have seen is, first of all, a very sharp decline in price against Bitcoin. Avalanche saw this when it launched. It lost a lot of its value compared to Bitcoin. And this was more or less when a lot of altcoins generally in the space were folding against Bitcoin on their Bitcoin pairs. They just had their strong pump after the halving, like we usually see for about a month and a half. And then we saw a strong pullback from Bitcoin, where more value went back into Bitcoin compared to the altcoin market for a few months after that. And this is normal. This is fine. It primes us for our bull run. This pullback allows for strong moves in the 2021 bull run, and potentially, if it plays out similarly, it'll allow for strong moves in the 2025 bull run. So we see a strong move down, and we have a strong move down here, our blue support and resistance lines, followed by a sharp incline. Again, this sharp incline represents the 2021 bull run starting. And from this point onwards, the US dollar pair looks pretty similar to the Bitcoin pair. Kind of uncanny in a way. But we have a strong move up, we put in a double top, and then we retrace to a local support that was previously a resistance. And what have we seen so far? Again, we've seen our trend down like we talked about. A strong move to the upside, which has been caused by this mini bull run. Like we've spoken about, every 2 years, we usually see some sort of a bull run. And that switches from being a very strong bull run to a weak bull run. And the 2021 bull run was a very strong one. And you could argue that this end of 2023 bull run was a weak one. And that's fine. Again, Avalanche hasn't played out a lot like the rest of the crypto space in terms of when it's had its rallies and what those rallies looked like. Anyway, we can see we have a strong move up, and we come back down to test the bull market support band during our double top phase where we come back down and move back up. We haven't yet tested this bull market support band range. And again, these things don't have to play out the same. This was a much choppier time frame for Avalanche. It experienced much more volatile moves in a shorter period of time, affecting the bull market support band in a different way. So realistically, once we've had an actual cycle that's been normalized and we have a bull market support band that reflects a normal cycle for Avalanche, we shouldn't expect to see this type of a bull market support band move. So potentially this is as low as we come. We do see we go a leg lower towards the end before rallying back up to the top. Again, these things don't have to play out the same, but we do come back up to the top for us only to have a strong pull down into this green range. I don't think we'll pull back down into this green range this time. I think again we'll come back to this white support line that was previously a resistance, establish it as a support once we break above, and then for us to move into the second phase of Avalanche's bull run during the 2021. So again, it kind of comes down to what you think this move equates to. If you think it's the start of a bull run, you might expect another strong move during the latter half of this year. If you don't think that this is the start of a bull run, You might want to assume that we will see another strong move like this later on. Again, maybe the latter half of the bull run of 2024, excuse me. And then a second move. Again, these things are not playing out the same. And the fact that we had these two legs up was uncommon for the crypto space. And a lot of altcoins didn't do this. It was mainly only Bitcoin, Ethereum, and a select few altcoins that had this second leg up towards the end of 2021. So to expect that again, maybe you'd be wise, but also maybe you would be foolish in assuming that it must play out this way. It caught a lot of people off guard. So just be aware. It could just be a strong move like this, and maybe that goes slightly higher. Maybe it wicks up and we spend a little time and then we wick up for a high and pull back down. I don't know. It all comes down to what you think. In terms of the Bitcoin pair, where do I see Avalanche going? Ultimately up, like from the price today, where we are at 8,500 Satoshis. If we go from now to a year later, exactly, I'm sure we will be well above where we are now. And I would even potentially hazard to say above 10,000 Satoshis. I think it's possible. I can see the potential for short-term pullbacks, but again, I think once the halving has taken place, I think a lot of altcoins will suddenly shoot up, have another pullback down, like we've seen before with the halvings, and then we'll move into our bull run. But ultimately, we can never know for sure until it actually happens, but hopefully this video helped you understand the previous patterns of Avalanche on its US dollar and Bitcoin pairs. If you liked the video, leave a like. If you didn't, leave a dislike. Comment down below what you thought of the review and which altcoin you want next. Sign up with the link in the description to FairDesk to not only get a deposit bonus, but also reduced fees. And when you sign up, we get a kickback to the channel. So not only are you supporting us, you're also saving money. So it's a win-win. Thanks very much, guys. Take care and peace.